YouTube. So you're here, and most likely you're either returning to the hobby, like I have, or thinking about getting into the hobby for the first time. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I came back into the hobby about a year ago, and um, I had a Lionel layout as a kid in the 60s. And in the 70s, I built a small N scale layout. And in the 80s, I built a couple HO scale layouts that stayed with me into the 90s. And most of the freight cars that I had then, I still have, and I'm using them on this layout. I was out of the hobby for almost 30 years. And I'm currently 67 years old and retired 2 years ago. So I started building a layout and started this channel mainly because I wasn't finding a lot of information on beginning or returning to this hobby. And I just thought, you know what? There's a lot of experts out there. There's plenty of them, but I'm not an expert. And so I share my mistakes for the whole world to see. So that's my past. After I retired, I spent too much time thinking about building it and not doing anything. My excuse was I've got time and I need to get up to speed and, blah, blah, blah. I used them all. So my question to you is, what's your excuse? Is it space? Is it time? Is it money? Is it the scale? So what I'm going to do is show you what you should be thinking about right now and not putting this off. Okay, so we're going to start with this is space and scale. Space, the space that you have available, and the scale of trains that you want to run go hand in hand. And these can be long-term decisions. So let's just start in the here and now. What space do you have available? And don't tell me you don't have any. You do. If you have a bed, if you have a closet, if you have a garage, if you have a shed, you've got a space. Now, a lot of people, including myself, want to build a nice big layout. And that's great. And you will have it. But what can you do right now in the moment to start on the journey into model railroading or coming back to it? So if you have, you can put a table underneath your bed. You can put a table in a closet. You can put it in a garage. You can put it in a shed. In any place that is not outside. Okay, unless you're building a garden railroad, and you probably wouldn't be starting that as your first. If you've never built a model railroad before, you really should build something small first. When we talk about scale, you can't just pick the scale for your space now, especially if you're younger. You eventually, you're going to have a house someday. You're going to have maybe a big room someday. So don't just think short term. Think long term. What's the best for you? If you've never built one before, you want to build a module, which is just a table. And that module can then be used as part of a bigger layout. And that happens a lot. I know you want to have a big, train going around all the way around, and start small. because you're going to make mistakes. I do all the time, and I've done this before. So, for example, mine is going to be built all the way around a room, but I started with one table only, and built it, made sure it was square, solid, put track on it to prove the track plan, and it changed drastically. And if I would have started with the whole building all the tables, I'd have had no space to really do the repairs that I needed to do, and I've had to do so. So one table is down. I got 3 more to go. So let's talk about scale. So N scale, very popular now. Um, Back in the 80s, it was garbage, very small and garbage. Now, the trains, the equipment that you buy are really good, especially the locomotives. It does allow you to have a big layout in a smaller space, and that's great. And like I said, it is popular, but you need to think long term. And let me grab something here. This is an N scale boxcar, and this is an HO boxcar. Now, for me, since I already had this, I already got this stuff, so it wasn't a hard decision to stay with HO. But another reason would be this is just way too small for me. Doing things on these is hard enough. This is uh, is microscopic. If you're returning to the hobby, older, like I said, I'm 67. It's I don't have the eyesight for it. I don't have the dexterity for it. I've done N scale before, and went back to HO, or went to HO, and stuck with it from that point on because it was, to me, the perfect size. It's also the gorilla in the room as far as scales go. It's the most popular. There's the most variety of locomotives, cars, scenery, everything. It's just got a lot more to go for it. So um, I like HO. I'm not saying N scale is bad, but you need to think it through long term. Okay? Just because you have a small space now doesn't mean you're not going to have a bigger space later. The other one that's popular is O scale, which is like Lionel. And number one, you're going to have a big room. And number two, you got to have deep pockets because this stuff's expensive because it's big. There's a little lack of reality in some of that. I mean, back in the day, it was not very prototypical. Now they do make more of that stuff. But I've seen some YouTube videos about people who are in that, and they're saying that some of the quality has gone down. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a huge scale, and you really have to have the money and the space to do it. So I recommend HO. You do whatever you need to do. So then the number 2 question is when? When are you going to start? Believe me, there are tons of people out there who do not start their layout for a number of reasons. And it's really sad when you really want to go do this, but you don't do it because of this, that, and the other. And you end up you don't do it. You never get to it. So it's a killer. You can't keep kicking the proverbial can down the road. It doesn't happen, and you'll regret it. When you look at the numbers, the longer you wait, the more expensive it is, the more time consuming it is. So just don't just wait till, well, when I retire. I spent a year retired before I actually got back into the hobby. So I'm just saying, do something now. And so now we're going to talk about money and time, the two biggest issues, besides space. And you need to have a budget. I know that's a dirty word, but you need it. In this hobby, you really need it. You cannot buy everything you want. And, things are more expensive. So if you set yourself up and you look at time and money being the two big factors in your life, then you really just need to take a monetary amount of money, say $20 a week, that you can put aside to, to do a model railroad. Okay. And let's say that you say 4 hours a week working on it. Okay. Well, at $20 a week, you're going to have $1,040 in a year. Not bad. At 4 hours, you're going to have 208 hours in it in a year. So if you can just put that into reality, I mean, if you start putting $20 in and you figure out that, yes, I can build a smaller table. You can put it on sawhorses, man. Put it under the bed, put it in the garage, whatever. Bring it out, put it on a couple sawhorses. You're ready to roll. It's easy. I did that before, and but the first $20 you go to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever you go to, and you get some lumber, some 1x4s, and don't build it out of 2x4s. Don't. It's too heavy and it's more expensive, and you don't need it. The trains don't weigh that much. Nothing weighs that much if this is a portable table. So you can start learning everything slowly, and just take that $20 a week or $50 a week or whatever you've got to spend, and start building something. And you're going to make mistakes, and you'd much rather put it on a 2 foot by 4 foot table, and if something goes wrong, it's not the biggest disaster, where it can be a big disaster if you think you're going to build this whole big layout your first try. Don't try that. Try something small. um, and it's just a reality. You've got to balance your time, balance your money, and if you can find something that can fund your model railroad. I have an eBay store. I went out and bought some big lots of people. A gentleman who passed away and had all this stuff that he never used, never even opened. And I took that and I make money off of that on eBay. Um, I've got a couple other items that I sell. Um, and that funds how I spend money. So just think about that. Think about, hey, if instead of 4 hours a week, you do 2 hours a week DoorDash and 2 hours a week on the layout. See, and that'll make the money that you need. So just think about that. And lastly is information. And man, I watched way too many YouTubes when I started. Guaranteed. I didn't know where to look. You know, I just got on YouTube, and like I said, there was not a lot of stuff for people coming back to the hobby or new to the hobby. Well, back in the 80s, DCC had just started, and it was scary, and it was expensive, and I was just like, I'm not changing everything now just for whatever the new fad is. Well, 40 years later now, I don't know how old that is now, but it's mainstream. So there's a lot of things to look at. Um, One of the things, as you're thinking about building this railroad, modern is the most common right now, especially with younger people, because this is all they've seen. and that's great. But some people want to do a specific era, like I'm doing the 60s and 70s, because that's when I grew up, and that's when trains were just fascinating to me, and they still are. I mean, I live right now less than a half a mile away from a track, and I love hearing the horns. There's a road crossing down there, and the horns go off, and I'm happy, you know. So um, think of the era that you want to do. Um, you know, like I said, older folks, they remember being a kid and you know, steam trains and all that, and that, do what you love. Don't just do what's easy. Um, if you ever want to know where a locomotive, you know, like I'm going to buy a locomotive, I'm going to spend $100 on it, okay, and I'm building a 60s and 70s layout, and I don't know, I didn't keep up on the engine names, you know. There's a book from Model Railroader called Model Railroader's Handbook, the Modern Railroader's Handbook, okay, and it is a great book in general. I would suggest you buy it, maybe with that first $20 or whatever. But in there, it takes every single locomotive, diesel locomotive that was ever made, and tells you how many there were built and in what era did they start in and what era did they stop making them. And, you know, and that rolls down though. I mean, there's still GP9s out on railroads still running. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop, but I just didn't want to buy something too modern that doesn't fit into the 60s and 70s. You know what I'm saying? And last and not least, I'm going to show you these two websites. One is trains.com, which is the parent company of Model Railroader now, and another one which is called the Model Railroad Enthusiast, excuse me, MHR, Hobbyist. There, I totally forgot. MRH, and I'll show you the website. And their magazine's free. Free. It's just digital copies. But there's also forums on there, and the trains.com website is fantastic, and I'll show you right here, right now. This is the main hub. If you type in modelrailroader.com, you'll end up at this page. But you can see Model Railroader right here. First thing I'm going to do though is go to this, which is trains.com. And this is free videos. And you can go to modeling and you can get, you know, views of people's layouts or, you know, all kinds of stuff. You go to how to, and there's some good information there. All right, done by a guy from Model Railroader. So we're going to go back up here to the top and go to Model Railroader. And so, you know, one thing that you're going to be getting information for is a track plan. Go right here to how to, track plan, click. There's a ton on here. Put in your scale. You can put in your layout size, and you can go from there. Great. There's like over 900 track plans in here from different scales. And, you know, you can take, let's say, an N scale and make it into an HO, just blow it up. I actually found the bones to my layout basically on here. It's a great place for track plans. Go over here to beginners, click on beginners. There are a lot of different articles on everything model railroading. You know, if you have a question, you'll probably find it here. There's 4 pages of this. Excellent resource. Another resource is free downloads. All this is free. Um, these are different, they're like small digital magazines. They're just on one particular thing. Um, you put your email address in and they'll let you download it. And there's also a thing on here. Of course, when I tested this, it popped up, and it's not going to pop up now, for a lessons that they will send you once a week in your email, and you can learn things from that. So there's a ton of free information out here that is, it's all free. I mean, you can't get to the magazines, can't get into Model Railroader. You can, mine says renew. Yours will say, subscribe. Um, right now, I've got enough information on what I need that I'm not going to subscribe to that at the moment, but you can do that all from here. It's a free resource. You can't get any better, right? The other one that I couldn't remember, this one, Model Railroad Hobbyist. And if you put in mrhmag.com, you'll go to this website, or you can put in the one that's up here at the top, modelrailroadhobbyist.com. Either one will work. And all of their magazines are free. You can start reading now, the current issue. Click on that. There's their new issue. You can download it. Table of contents, you can go down through here and figure out if there's an article that you want to read. If I go back over here, let's see here. Well, this discussion forums. Boom. You have to sign up for this. They'll approve you. But you can see all of locos and rolling stock, 4,702 threads. Amazing. And nice people here. Model Railroader also has a forum. But this is all just free information for you. So you can not watch so many YouTube videos that don't really apply to you, and you can ask people questions. Most of them are very polite. Well, everyone I've been with has been very polite. I've been on here before. But these are just, everything's free. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to watch commercials. Um, it's a great resource. So there's two websites. This is part one of a series. I'm not sure how long this is going to be. I'm working on the next video, and I'll try to get it out as quick as possible. But thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. We'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.